The worms are back, guys. The worms are back. I'm terrified. If you guys don't know about this story, then I'm sorry if I'm the one who's introducing you to it, because if this ends up being a real issue that we're having to talk about, the same level as that tick outbreak that's been going on, or God forbid COVID, though I doubt it could spread that bad, I'm sorry if I'm the one who's introducing you to this story. Who here knows what a screwworm is? Do you got any worms under your skin, chat? You got any worms crawling through your blood? You know, you ever be able to cut your hand and then cut a monster and then put your hand on it? I'm gonna spoil a certain scene. I can't. Now, if you know the show I'm talking about, though, you got good taste. If you know what show I'm referencing. Anyway, the worms, the screwworms. Apparently, they have made it to the United States, and multiple pets have been documented as having been infected by them. Now, for those of you guys who are blessed to not know what a screwworm is, I'm about to ruin your life. Go ahead and take a break from whatever you're eating. Just real quick, just go ahead and set your food aside. Don't even look at it. Yeah, you're going to want to take a break for a moment. So there is a type of horrific fly that likes to find open wounds on which to lay its eggs. Now, most fly larvae, most maggots, are actually quite chill, and they only eat dead matter, dead flesh. Like, surgically precise, they will only eat dead matter or flesh. So sometimes having maggots on a festering wound is not the worst thing for you. They still use maggots in a lot of medicine, especially when it comes to removing desiccated flesh and whatnot. However, when it comes to this type of maggot, it does not distinguish between rotting dead flesh and living healthy tissue. So when the eggs get laid and they hatch and they start eating, you end up with a insanely scary infection. And the terrifying thing about screwworm is I'm pretty sure it can just burrow through your skin. Like, if you encounter a screwworm larvae, it can just burrow into your skin quite horrifically. I remember there was growing up in Florida, I was always told, like, you wear shoes when you're walking around outside, because you never know what you're gonna get. It could be ringworm, screwworm. Most of them are a type of worm. So, except for ringworm, which isn't really a worm, but still, most of them had worm in the name. So growing up from Florida, I'm very familiar with the awful, horrific insects that can just do a number on your body, from brown recluse, which can cause your flesh to melt off, to botflies. I've seen botflies do ungodly thing to squirrels in Florida. Oh god, the nightmare fuel, genuinely. But unfortunately, it seems like more nightmare fuel is on the way. But how big of a story is this? How serious is it? I actually don't know, so we're going to be finding out together. You can kind of consider this like a research segment, if you will. So I got an article here from The Hill that we're going to read together. The CDC activates emergency response to screwworm infestations. Oh boy. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention activated a formal emergency response to the New World screwworm on Thursday. The Department of Health and Human Services confirmed after the parasitic fly was found in cattle for the first time in decades. Keep in mind, by the way, America might actually be the world's #1 cattle farming nation on the planet. Like, it's the epicenter of all of it. I'm pretty confident that the amount of cows we have here could facilitate a pretty horrifying screwworm outbreak, especially when you consider how a lot of those like really big ranches that have like 10,000 heads of cow or whatever, or of cattle, sometimes they trade, they sell, they intermix, they give a real strong bull over to a neighbor, they sell it off to use for breeding and stuff. Like, there's definitely potential for an outbreak to spread among these livestock. Granted, it is up to farmers, it would seem, to shut this down, right? Like any other foodborne illness, which you could almost consider this a foodborne illness in a way, the farmers, it's on them to make sure that they manage their livestock correctly and don't allow this to take off like, say, bird flu has in the past when it comes to poultry. The Department of Agriculture is leading the response on the animal side by monitoring cattle and livestock and dispersing sterile flies to control the spread of screwworm. This is actually a really interesting topic. A lot of people don't talk about this, or when they do, they talk about it in a very conspiratorial way. Like, oh my god, they're releasing 10 million mosquitoes. What the fuck? Why are the millionaires doing this? They're trying to make us sick. And it's like, well, no. Very much like with controlled burns, quite some time ago, we figured out that if we can breed completely sterile versions of a certain species of animal, we can release them into an environment, and it basically reduces the next generation's viability immensely, because the population is fighting over resources, a ton don't make it, many of those that do make it are infertile, and no matter how much they mate, they never end up reproducing. And then boom, you can reduce the amount of mosquitoes, the amount of ticks. They've done this a lot to reduce a lot of problematic populations. So introducing completely sterile screwworm larvae or screwworm flies that would basically, trick other screwworms into thinking that they've reproduced when they haven't. Pretty clever method. But a lot of people like to catastrophize it and make conspiracy theories out of this practice. The CDC is planning for potential human exposure, and the emergency measures are an indication the agency is investigating the outbreak, akin to small natural disasters or environmental responses. The declaration is an example of the Trump administration's whole-of-government approach, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said Thursday. The CDC is one more step in the right direction that allows us to deploy more resources at the federal level, Rollins said to reporters in Texas. Human infestations are rare, and there have been no reports of any yet. The risk is localized to areas where screwworm flies are circulating, and people with open wounds or who spend time around livestock in those areas are most at risk. I'm gonna be real, guys. Every farmer has open wounds. Like, let's be real. Every farmer and farmhand in America has an open wound on them right now. So I went to school in a pretty rural area, and I lived a relatively suburban, I lived more suburban life, but you go, 10 minutes away from my house growing up, and you've got farms. So half of my classmates at school were, farm kids, and the other half were, suburban kids, right? Because you got the very weird borderline right there that we both occupied. So I'd always have, a classmate at school who was a farm kid that would just be covered in all sorts of scratches and cuts and stuff. Not oh my god, they're being abused or something, but it's very clear dude, you are always running through some tall grass or some branches or some thorn bushes or something, and they've just got layers of scars from just constantly working around sharp prickly things and whatnot, doing outside work. Yeah, it's pretty worrying if you're a farmer having to deal with the potential screwworm infestation, because most farmers that I've known have open wounds most of the time. Farming tends to give you a lot of open wounds on your skin, and you're doing it all the time. You have a new one before your last one even healed. The screwworm was eradicated in the US in the 1960s. That's impressive that we managed to do that, by the way. But it has come back before. The most recent outbreak occurred between 2016 and 2017 in Florida. Shouldn't surprise you. It's always Florida. Also, who was president 2016 to 2017? Who was also president then? Just a reminder. Sup, Delancer, good to see ya. A collaborative response involving federal, state, and local government agencies successfully re-eradicated the flies from the state, the CDC said. It remains endemic in Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and some countries in South America. So it's a little bit scary, to say the least, the idea of actually getting this. And obviously in, places throughout South America and whatnot, they've got it still it's a big problem there. But here, doesn't seem like it's going to take off unless the federal government and the CDC, with their lack of funding, as Donald Trump is the one you can thank for that, along with Elon, let's hope that they're capable of actually preventing this from getting to be a real problem. Because, trust me, guys, you do not want to have to worry about Screwworm. Dude, the first time some Gen Z Zoomer with social media gets Screwworm, they're going to post a video of what it looks like, and it's going to go so viral, it's going to give an entire generation nightmares. And every TikToker is not going to sleep or eat anything for the next 24 hours after they see that. Trust me. Screwworm is horrifying. I am not showing any photos of what it looks like when they've done what they do to the flesh and skin of their host. But we do have a little video attached here. Is this a legit, news segment from The Hill?
Culture Secretary Brooke Rollins defended the Trump administration's new SNAP work requirements.
No one was kicked off. We have more people working today than ever before.
The agency now requires people to work or...
This isn't related, okay. But yeah, the CDC has been immensely defunded by Donald Trump, so it's hard to believe that... we're really prepared for the next pandemic. I mean, we know for a fact that we weren't prepared for the last pandemic, primarily because Donald Trump chose not to do anything to prepare us for it. Even when things started to look scary, and even when the CDC made warnings to Trump that measures needed to be taken, he refused. Anyway, bedbugs are for pussies. Oh my god, bedbugs, from what I've heard, are one of the most horrifying things ever, and I've seen videos of them, and I've got friends who have, experienced bedbugs before, and all I'll say is they prefer that I don't even say that word around them. And I feel like that's all you need to know. I feel like that's all you need to know, is they don't even want to hear that word. What about cooties? You mean estrogen? Delancer, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Very kind of you. Very base. Thank you. Says, if Trump wants his name on a public building and to be remembered, the next Congress or next president can name the public bathroom at the Memorial Park the Don Trump toilets. Rename toilets as Trump's. True. True. They could be the Donald Trump bathrooms. I would actually accept that. I would celebrate it even. Anyway, though, in all seriousness, hopefully you don't end up with any worms under your skin, any worms in your flesh. But if they do end up coming, you gotta yell, the bugs are back. And then scream about, the worms, the worms. I don't know how many of you guys even remember Dracula Flow. I feel like such an unk these days. Anyway, though, if you enjoyed this video, consider being a generous, kind supporter and dropping a like on it, as it does help to fight back against the very right-wing aligned algorithm we're dealing with these days, and every like makes a chud somewhere shit blood. Consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon, follow my social medias linked down below, and consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub. I always appreciate it. Thanks for watching.